Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on unified identity security. We'll be exploring how integrating conditional access and defender for identity can significantly boost our security posture. The focus will be on enhancing real-time threat detection and implementing adaptive access control to create a more resilient protection environment. Over the next few slides, we'll dive into the key concepts, benefits, and practical strategies for leveraging these powerful tools together. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at the introduction to conditional access versus identity. Here, we're exploring how unified identity security integrates both conditional access and defender for identity to create a more comprehensive defense. Conditional access plays a critical role by monitoring ongoing identity behavior. It constantly assesses security, helping us understand if a user's actions are consistent with normal patterns. This is essential because it allows us to adapt our security measures dynamically based on real-time activity. At the same time, it acts as a key initial gatekeeper, especially in Microsoft 365 security. It's the first line of defense at the point of entry, determining whether access should be granted or denied based on predefined policies. This focus on evaluating whether access is safe is crucial, because it helps prevent unauthorized access before it even happens. When we combine this with identity management, we're creating a layered approach where each component supports and enhances the other. So, in this slide, the comparison between conditional access and traditional identity management highlights how these tools work together to create resilient, adaptive security defenses that evolve alongside today's threats. This integration is fundamental to our overall security strategy, ensuring that access is both secure and flexible. Let's take a closer look at the role of conditional access in our security framework. Essentially, it acts as a gatekeeper, ensuring that only secure and compliant devices and users can gain access to our resources. This is a key part of our unified identity security approach, which combines conditional access with defender for identity to create a stronger overall security posture. When a login attempt happens, conditional access evaluates several factors like the user's location, the health of their device, and whether multi-factor authentication has been completed. These factors are crucial because they help determine if the login meets our security requirements. Think of conditional access as the frontline defense in Azure Active Directory. It enforces policies that verify credentials and ensure device compliance before access is granted. This way, we're proactively protecting our environment by making sure only the right people and devices get in. Ultimately, this approach helps us maintain a secure and compliant organization, seamlessly integrating security enforcement into everyday access processes. Let's talk about conditional access using a simple analogy. Imagine it as a nightclub bouncer. The bouncer checks the guest list, verifies IDs, and makes sure everyone meets the dress code and entry rules. If you pass these checks, such as being from the correct country, using a compliant device, and having valid multi-factor authentication, you're allowed to enter. This analogy really highlights the role of conditional access as a strict but momentary checkpoint. It's not about blocking permanently, but about ensuring the right conditions are met at the right time to maintain security. By thinking of it as a gatekeeper, it helps us understand how conditional access controls access dynamically, based on the specific context of each user and device. This is a key part of our overall security strategy, making sure that only authorized users with compliant devices and proper authentication can access sensitive resources. While conditional access is quite effective at controlling entry points, it does have its limitations. It primarily evaluates risk at login, meaning it checks the user's credentials and context when they first try to access a system. But once access is granted, it tends to assume that users will follow the rules inside. The problem is, it doesn't monitor ongoing behavior after login. This creates a blind spot where potential threats can emerge without immediate detection. So, even if someone gains initial access legitimately, Malicious activity can happen later without being caught by conditional access alone. This is why integrating broader security measures, like Defender for Identity, is so important. It helps us fill that monitoring gap and better protect our environment beyond just the login point. Now, let's talk about Defender for Identity and how it fits into our overall security strategy. Essentially, it complements conditional access by focusing on monitoring identity behavior after a user has logged in. Think of it as a security team that's constantly observing what's happening within your environment. It doesn't just stop at verifying who you are at login. It keeps watching for any suspicious activity. This includes detecting unusual patterns, lateral movement across systems, and attempts to exploit credentials beyond the initial access point. So, even if someone manages to get past the first barrier, Defender for Identity is there to spot any signs that something's not right. It's a crucial part of our unified approach to identity security, helping us catch threats that might otherwise go unnoticed. Continuing with our analogy, think of Defender for Identity as the security staff inside the club, constantly watching the surveillance monitors. It's always on the lookout for anyone sneaking into restricted areas or acting suspiciously. It detects behaviors that might indicate someone is tampering with sensitive resources or trying to bypass security. Essentially, it tracks identity signals across both Active Directory and cloud environments, giving us a comprehensive view of what's happening. This way, we can quickly identify potential threats and respond before any damage occurs. It's like having an extra layer of vigilant security that's always alert and ready to spot unusual activity. These activities can often go unnoticed if we only focus on entry controls. While controlling access at the beginning is important, it doesn't cover everything. That's where the limitations of entry controls come into play. Once someone is inside, there are post-login threats that we need to be aware of. These include unusual access to sensitive files, lateral movement across systems, and techniques like credential dumping. These actions can be signs of malicious activity that occur after the initial login. Attackers often find ways to bypass our initial defenses by using legitimate credentials and devices, which makes detection more challenging. This is why understanding the danger of post-login threats is so critical. They can silently compromise our security, even when the initial entry seems secure. That's why integrating security measures like Conditional Access and Defender for Identity is essential. They help us see these hidden activities and respond effectively. Let's take a closer look at how Conditional Access and Defender for Identity differ, and how they work together to provide a unified approach to identity security. First, Defender for Identity focuses on continuously analyzing behavioral signals even after someone has logged in. It keeps an eye on user activity, looking for anomalies or suspicious behaviors that might suggest compromise or misuse. This ongoing monitoring helps us detect threats that might develop over time or after the initial login. In contrast, Conditional Access primarily verifies access eligibility at the exact moment of login. It uses static signals, like whether a device is compliant or the user's location, to make an immediate decision about granting access. So, while Conditional Access acts as a gatekeeper at login, Defender for Identity provides a vigilant watch over user behavior continuously. Both are essential. They complement each other to create a more robust security framework. This integration ensures that we're not only verifying identities up front, but also continuously assessing risk throughout the session. Let's talk about some of the challenges that come with using separate security tools. When organizations rely on different systems like Conditional Access and Defender for Identity, there are missed opportunities to detect threats early on. Because these tools aren't integrated, threats can go unnoticed until it's too late, leading to delayed responses. This delay can make a big difference when trying to prevent or contain a security incident. Another issue is that security administrators often have to juggle multiple dashboards and alerts. This makes it harder to connect the dots and get a clear picture of what's happening across the environment. It becomes a challenge to quickly understand the full scope of a potential threat. And finally, running these tools independently creates operational silos. Instead of working together seamlessly, they often operate in isolation, which hampers efficiency and slows down the overall security response. That's why integrating these tools into a unified approach is so crucial, so we can detect, respond, and recover more effectively. Let's talk about the real risk that comes with disconnected tools. Even when we have a system like conditional access approving access based on clean credentials, there's still a gap if it's not integrated with other security tools. For example, Defender for Identity might be raising alerts about suspicious activity, but if those alerts aren't connected or acted upon, they can go unnoticed. This creates dangerous blind spots in our security defenses. When these tools don't share intelligence, it's like having puzzle pieces that don't fit together. Suspicious activities or potential breaches can slip right through without detection. That's why integrating these tools into a unified security approach is so critical. It allows us to see the full picture, respond quickly, and prevent threats from falling through the cracks. This is a key part of strengthening our overall security posture and ensuring we're not leaving ourselves vulnerable. Let's walk through a practical example to see how these security tools work together. Imagine a user logs in at 1:47 a.m. from a familiar device. Conditional access evaluates this login and finds no risk factors, so it grants access as usual. However, at the same time, Defender for Identity detects some unusual activity, specifically, some suspicious file access in sensitive folders and multiple failed attempts to reach restricted areas. This is a great example because, without integration, these signals might stay isolated, meaning the security team might not connect the dots right away. That delay could give an attacker more time to do damage. By integrating Conditional Access and Defender for Identity, we get a comprehensive view, seeing both login behaviors and system activity, allowing us to respond more quickly and effectively. This unified approach is key to proactively identifying and stopping threats, especially during off hours when suspicious activity might otherwise go unnoticed. Without real-time coordination, detection can be delayed, which is a critical point to understand. This delay means that threats have more time to move around inside our networks, increasing dwell time. As a result, the risk of data exfiltration or ransomware deployment goes up significantly. Now, when attackers move laterally within the network, they're expanding their reach, often accessing sensitive or critical areas that they shouldn't have access to. This lateral movement is a key tactic they use to deepen their infiltration and cause more damage. Furthermore, attackers often exploit gaps between our security tools, specifically between Conditional Access and Defender for Identity. They get clever here, mimicking normal user behavior to avoid detection. This exploitation of gaps makes it even harder for us to spot malicious activity early on. All of this highlights why integrating security measures like Conditional Access and Defender for Identity is so vital. When these tools work together seamlessly, we can detect and respond much faster, closing those gaps and reducing the risk of these threats thriving inside our environment. Let's look at some real-world insights from Microsoft's own investigations into security gaps. They found cases where conditional access was properly set up, which is great, but the problem was that Defender for Identity alerts weren't integrated or monitored effectively. This means that even though the initial controls were in place, the alerts that could detect suspicious activity weren't being acted upon. As a result, attackers stayed hidden for weeks, undetected, which is a serious risk. This situation really highlights the critical need for unified threat signals, bringing together these different security tools so they can work in harmony. By doing this, we can significantly reduce dwell time, the window attackers have to cause damage, and better prevent data loss. It's a clear reminder that having a comprehensive, integrated security approach is essential to truly protect our environments. Let's talk about the value of integrated security signals. When we combine unified identity security, like integrating conditional access with Defender for Identity, it really transforms how we approach security. Instead of relying on static checkpoints, which are limited in scope, this integration creates dynamic, responsive controls that adapt to the current threat landscape. Adaptive policy enforcement is key here. It ensures our security measures evolve as new risks emerge, keeping us always one step ahead. This leads to more effective, real-time responses to threats. When we talk about dynamic security controls, this integration helps close gaps in our defenses and significantly improves detection accuracy. Shared intelligence plays a crucial role, turning our security measures into smarter tools that can better identify and respond to threats. By linking Conditional Access and Defender for identity, we create a powerful synergy. This shared intelligence allows for instant risk reassessment, meaning our policies can adapt immediately based on new information. In essence, this interconnected approach enhances our overall security posture, making our defenses more precise, responsive, and resilient. This is a perfect example of how integrated signals can elevate our security strategy to meet today's complex challenges. Let's take a closer look at the feedback loop concept. This is all about how we can create a more dynamic and responsive security environment by integrating various tools. First, on threat containment, this means tightening controls quickly, such as requiring reauthentication or even terminating sessions if we detect a threat. The goal here is to contain any issues immediately before they escalate. Next, we have real-time adjustments. When suspicious activity is detected after a user has logged in, our conditional access policies can automatically adapt in real time. This ensures that security measures are always current and effective without delaying response times. Finally, risk signal feedback is crucial. Defender for Identity constantly feeds risk signals back into conditional access, creating a continuous feedback loop. This ongoing exchange helps us refine our security posture and respond more intelligently to threats. Overall, this concept highlights how integrating these tools allows us to proactively manage security risks, keeping our environment safer and more resilient. Now, let's talk about dynamic security adjustments. This approach combines unified identity security by integrating Conditional Access and Defender for Identity to create a more adaptive security environment. What does that mean in practice? Well, it helps improve our overall security posture by making real-time, adaptive measures. Instead of relying solely on static rules, the system can respond dynamically to threats as they emerge. This means it can minimize vulnerabilities instantly, reducing the window of opportunity for attackers. It also strengthens protection against unauthorized access by continuously adjusting security settings based on current risk levels. The key idea here is that these adjustments are made continually, not just at login. So, if a threat evolves or a suspicious activity is detected during a session, the system can respond immediately. This proactive stance is crucial because threats are constantly changing, and static safety measures just aren't enough anymore. Now, this leads us to real-time risk management. For example, if suspicious behavior is detected, the system might prompt for additional authentication factors, adding an extra layer of security. Or, if the risk is high enough, it might restrict access to sensitive resources or even cut off a session entirely to prevent any damage. Finally, adaptive authentication measures are all about making authentication smarter and more responsive. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, the system tailors responses based on the current risk, helping us stay one step ahead of potential threats. Overall, these dynamic adjustments are essential for maintaining a resilient and proactive security stance in today's evolving threat landscape. Now, let's look at how behavioral and device trust signals come together to create a more unified approach to identity security. One key aspect is integrating conditional access with Defender for Identity, which allows us to have a comprehensive view of potential threats. Anomalies, such as unusual Kerberos ticket requests or NTLM usage, are critical indicators of lateral movement within the network. Recognizing these anomalies early can help us stop attackers in their tracks. Behavioral analytics play a vital role here. They detect these kinds of unusual activities and flag them for review. Signals from Microsoft Defender, like device compromise status, feed into both systems. Conditional Access and Defender for Identity giving us a holistic picture of security. This integration ensures we're not just looking at identity behavior in isolation, but considering device health and posture as well. And speaking of device posture, it's more than just the state of a device. It's a crucial factor in our security strategy. Ensuring that devices are compliant and secure adds an extra layer of confidence before granting access. Together, these signals, behavioral anomalies, device posture, and threat intelligence, form a unified security approach. This way, we can better detect, respond to, and prevent lateral movement and other sophisticated threats across our environment. Let's talk about continuous monitoring and learning within unified identity security. By integrating tools like Conditional Access and Defender for identity, security teams can really focus on the genuine risks that matter most. This integration helps minimize distractions caused by noisy data, so teams aren't overwhelmed by false alarms. Focusing on genuine risks is crucial because continuous feedback allows the system to sharpen its threat identification over time. This means fewer false positives, which improves overall accuracy and helps security teams respond more effectively. Additionally, by combining logs and events into a unified timeline of user activity, the system creates a comprehensive view. This not only helps in understanding past actions, but also enables the system to learn and improve its detection capabilities over time. In essence, this continuous learning process makes our security posture smarter, more precise, and better equipped to handle evolving threats. Now, let's look at how we can free our security teams to focus on what really matters: critical incidents. By prioritizing alerts effectively, we can cut down on alert fatigue, which often overwhelms teams and slows down response times. When alerts are less noisy, teams can react faster and more effectively to genuine threats. This is where the power of correlating signals from both Conditional Access and Defender for identity comes into play. By doing this, our system filters out the irrelevant or false alarms and highlights only the actionable threats. This process ensures that security professionals spend their time on the most important issues, rather than chasing false leads or dealing with noise. Ultimately, this approach helps us improve our overall security posture. It aligns with our goal of making security operations smarter, more efficient, and more focused on safeguarding our organization from real risks. Let's take a look at how we can measure security success through unified identity security. First, one of the key indicators is the quality and completeness of our audit trails for investigations. This really highlights how well we're able to track and understand security incidents when they happen. Next, we focus on reducing successful phishing attempts. A lower number here means our defenses against social engineering are working effectively. Another crucial metric is response time, how quickly we move from detecting a threat to taking action. Faster responses mean less potential damage. And finally, dwell time tells us how long threats stay active within our environment before they are detected and removed. The shorter this time, the better our overall security posture. Connecting all these points to the broader theme, integrating tools like Conditional Access and Defender for identity enables us to improve these metrics continuously, making our security not just reactive, but proactively stronger. Let's take a look at some real-world examples of how integrating unified identity threat detection and response has made a tangible difference. When we combine Conditional Access with Defender for identity, we're shifting our security approach from reactive to proactive. This means we're not just responding after an attack happens, but actually predicting and preventing issues before they escalate. One of the key benefits we see is fewer false positives, which helps reduce alert fatigue and allows security teams to focus on genuine threats. We also notice faster incident response times, so issues are resolved more quickly, minimizing potential damage. Plus, clearer audit trails make investigations easier and more efficient. For example, in one case, we stopped a credential stuffing attack midstream. By detecting unusual internal movements and automatically limiting the session, we prevented further damage. Another success story involved a global electronics company. They managed to reduce attacker dwell time from days to under 4 hours simply by connecting identity threat signals directly to access enforcement. In healthcare, we've seen similar improvements, significantly strengthening security in real-world scenarios. Overall, integrating conditional access with Defender for Identity not only improves security posture, but also demonstrates measurable benefits, making our defenses smarter and more responsive. Let's talk about best practices for measurement and management in our security strategy. One key aspect is monitoring how quickly risky sessions are flagged and limited. It's important to adjust these policies dynamically so we can optimize our detection and response capabilities. The faster we identify and act on suspicious activity, the stronger our security posture becomes. Next, we should leverage tools like Microsoft Secure Score to benchmark our current security configurations. Regularly reviewing these scores helps us identify areas for improvement and track our progress over time. It's all about continuous enhancement. Another critical practice is employing simulated attacks and phishing exercises. These tests help us evaluate how well our systems respond and how prepared our staff is to handle real threats. It's a proactive way to strengthen our defenses. We also need to regularly audit our conditional access policies. This ensures our controls stay aligned with the evolving threat landscape and also helps us avoid unnecessary friction for users. Balancing security and usability is always a challenge, but regular reviews keep us on track. Finally, tracking risk score trends over time is essential. By analyzing these trends, we can spot and reduce unexplained spikes in suspicious activity, helping us stay ahead of potential breaches. Overall, these practices form a comprehensive approach to managing security effectively in today's dynamic environment. Now, as we wrap up, let's talk about what it really means to achieve true identity security resilience. Teams need to move beyond using isolated tools and start embracing a unified approach to identity protection. This isn't just about ticking boxes anymore. It's about transforming our security strategies into a dynamic, intelligent defense system that adapts and responds in real time. When we talk about unified identity protection, the key benefit is gaining actionable, context-rich insights. These insights allow us to detect threats faster, respond more intelligently, and continuously learn from new security challenges. It's about making our defenses smarter and more proactive. This seamless integration of tools like Conditional Access and Defender for Identity is crucial. It closes critical security gaps by enabling real-time sharing of risk signals and allowing for adaptive policy enforcement. In essence, we're creating a security ecosystem where information flows freely and responses are immediate and precise. And the heart of this approach is the integrated feedback loop. When Conditional Access and Defender for Identity work together in a tightly connected cycle, true resilience emerges. It's this ongoing, smart interaction that keeps our identity security robust, adaptable, and ready to face tomorrow's threats.